At this time, I want to welcome you all here for our August 19th school board meeting with a reminder to please silence any cell phones or electronic devices that you might have with you this evening so we can avoid any disruptions. Also, we're honored to have Bishop James Reber here from Missionary Diocese of Christ the Redeemer, who will be leading us in our invocation. As well, we had a number of students that participate in the START program with Juilliard teaching this summer. They'll do both our Pledge of Allegiance and our national anthem. It is Rhiannon Bush, Sophia Garcia, Zach Reedy, Ashley Hartwig, Hope Pena, Mark Lopez, and Anthony Pinkerton. I'd ask if you'd please stand at this time for our invocation, our pledge, and our national anthem.
Let us pray. Almighty God, we call upon you with your gracious favor, that you would watch over our schools. Grant that knowledge may be increased among us and especially among our children. May all good learning flourish and abound. Bless all those who, having been entrusted by parents, that have the responsibility and oversight over our schools and all that transpires therein. Bless those who meet this evening, granting special insight, wisdom, and understanding, that the decisions made here tonight may be to the greater blessing and benefit of our children and community. Bless also those who teach and all who learn, and grant that in humility of heart they may ever look unto thee, who is the fountain of all knowledge and wisdom. This we ask through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you, Bishop, and thank you for your ministry to our community as well. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. For our pledge and national anthem, welcome this evening.
What school? Told you.
Yeah. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets reclaimed, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Good job.
Great job, students. Thank you very much.
Run the school, you're getting all A's.
May be seated at this time. Tammy Otterson will lead us in our mission statement and translation services with Dahlia.
The School District of Osceola County, Florida's mission is education which inspires all to their highest potential.
Thank you, ma'am.
My name is Dalia Medina. I'm here to provide translation services. Mi nombre es Dalia Medina. Estoy aquí para proveer servicio de traducción. Gracias.
Thank you, Dahlia. And again, great job tonight, students. We appreciate you coming out to join us and sharing your talent with us. All right, Board, we are at the moment, as you know, for positive comments. I will start with Mrs. Horn.
Well, the positive comments for me this evening is go everybody for the good job that you all did. Didn't hear any negative comments. It was a great first day of school, second day of school also. So keep up the good work and thank you everybody. Great job.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Soto?
Yeah, we're off to a good start. Keep it going.
Thank you. Mr. Wheeler?
I have a few. First, I want to recognize Clyde and his staff. Building 9 at Celebration High School is just beautiful. The teachers love it. You guys did a great job. Gil Bain, Schenkel Schultz, your team, terrific job. You guys did terrific. Celebration High School last week, I was at their open house, and they, between over 2,100 kids, their parents, their little brothers, sisters, all run around. They did a great job. They're having 3,500 people there, and they did a really nice job with it all. Osceola High School, I was there yesterday until about 1 o'clock from before school opened until 1 because they were going, the first day was 7 periods. Everybody there did a great job. The administrators, the staff, the students, everybody was pitching in. Parents were good. They didn't hang around on campus. A few did, but the students and Mr. Jones' team did an exceptionally good job. Finally, I want to share. I was invited to a welcome back teachers from Charter Schools USA that I went to. And they got 4 charter schools in Osceola County. From Point Siena Renaissance School, as we all know, went from a D to an A. They had a young man come up and give a speech. He's an 11-year-old boy. He's autistic. 3 years ago, this boy was nonverbal. This boy got up in front of 1,000 people and gave a speech, and it was, it gives me chills just talking about it. It was incredible. He got up with his teacher. It was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. A young boy who, again, 3 years ago, this is a nonverbal student. He's autistic. Gave a speech in front of 1,000 people. It was moving to times 10. It was just terrific. So I don't want to mention this young man's name because I don't have permission from his parents, but it was just one of the greatest things I've ever seen since I've been on the school board. That's all I've got.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Long?
Thank you. First, a note of caution. I know the people at St. Cloud High School, middle and elementary school, know that I'm riding my bike or walking before the sun comes up. So as a note of caution for all those people, all the parents, all the people driving around, please be careful. It's still dark out when our young ones are trying to get to school. Please be careful. Michigan Avenue is gridlock for those that go to St. Cloud High. Trying to get in there, it's no way to go, so please be careful. That's number one. Number two, to all our teachers, all our employees, our bus drivers, mechanics, maintenance people, everybody. I tell you honestly from my heart, all 5 board members could take the rest of the week off. If any 5 teachers left for a day at any one school, or maintenance people, we'd be hurting, okay? So thank you all of our teachers, all our employees, every one of you for everything you do. Day in and day out, after hours, evenings, sitting at home, 10 o'clock at night, still grading papers, tomorrow's lesson plan, phone calls from the superintendent, whatever. Thank you for what you do. And lastly, I wanted to speak about season 5, the start of the Juilliard program. Unfortunately, I will not be able to wax eloquently enough for that, so I would like to bring Debbie Famey up to speak for me for that program because she knows it in and out. So Debbie, please come up. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for giving us a minute to speak about it. It is really an exciting program, and every year, in my mind, it gets better and better. We are on year 5 of the program, the season 5, and if you look outside in the display case, we have pictures of all the students who have gone through the program, and you'll see that we've had over 750 of our students go through, over the 5 years, go through the Juilliard project. And it has really impacted many of them in big ways. But rather than me talk about it, Tom had said that he wanted me to talk about it. I really would rather the students talk about it. So if you don't mind, I'd like to just invite the kids up and let them tell you, because it's all about them. So would you guys come up and just share a little bit about what the Juilliard project is to you? And I do invite you to stop by and look at some of the artwork. They're wigs from Louis XIV era with a personal twist, so you'll have an artist statement there so that you'll understand what was in the creativity, the creative mind of the artist who produced it. But I'm going to turn it over to the kids.
Hi, my name is Rhiannon Bush. I'm a senior at St. Cloud High School, and I'm looking at colleges, freaking out about college, of course. And we had one day during the course of the program, the START program, where all of the Juilliard students talked about applications, scholarships, getting into college, how it, like, what it's like. And that personally was really helpful to me because I have no idea what to expect. And it's scary, but I'm more at ease now because it was just a nice talk, and it was a valuable, valuable lesson to listen to. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Hope Pena. This was my second year doing the Start Juilliard program. I'm a junior at St. Cloud High School. The program for me is extremely helpful in many ways because during the course of the different classes that we take during the intensive, we learn so much about our craft and about all the other different crafts that we take classes on. And it's helpful to take back that experience to our schools this year, and a lot of focus is brought into that program. So taking back everything I learned and bringing it back to school is definitely a helpful thing with this program. That's why I love it so much.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sophia Garcia. I go to St. Cloud High School as well. I've been in the program all 5 years. So when I started, I was just a little baby, and this program has grown so much, and it's helped me to grow as well in everything that I do. I'm a choral major, a theater major, and it's helped me so much to have all these experienced artists like us come down and provide their information for us. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Ashley Howig, and I'm a junior at St. Cloud High School, and I just completed my 3rd year at the STEP program, and I'm thankful for it so much because of how much I've come out of my shell because of it. My first year in the program was a hard year for me with transferring from private to public school and not knowing anybody. So getting to go to the program and not only meeting people who are at my school that are interested in the same things as me, I got to meet people outside of my school that really helped me just get comfortable in it. And I just want to say thank you all so much for everything you do.
Thank you.
Hi, I am Mark Lopez, and I am a sophomore. I was a vocal major, and it was my first year at START. I really didn't know what to expect from it. I didn't know how anything was going to go, and I came in, and I felt as if, and I know we all felt, as if every single school got to really come together to mix all their amazing, amazing, talented people from Celebration to Billalago, and we all get to come together, and we just thought of an idea to just mix all our talents and put into, in my opinion, it's almost as if we had our own all-star football game, and everyone got to, it wasn't least, it wasn't greatest, we all got to put it together and to make it come alive.
It's great. Thank you.
I'm finished. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Great job, students, again, in articulating your feelings and your viewpoints and your experience with that program. We appreciate you. Melba?
Yes. If you don't mind, the people sitting behind those students are the teachers. And Ms. Cochran and the group, would you please stand up, because without you, this really would have not been done. Would you all stand up? Come on.
We can't thank you enough for the school buildings, the use of the buildings, the carte blanche area of whatever we need. It's for our kids. Whatever we come to you for, if there's any issues, your doors are always open. You're always there. You come by, you're aware, your presence. The kids know it. They see you in the first row of the audience. It's all about the whole package in the community, and I think that's what it works. So we thank you for that. We know it couldn't happen without you, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
just on a personal note, I must say this. This was my favorite program of all. It really was. It was overwhelming. Thank you so much. The young man was talking about all-stars, so I'm going to talk about the summer graduation. It was like an all-stars. Everyone was wearing a different cap and gown, different color, because they were from another school, and just wanted to congratulate those children who worked diligently during the summer and were able to walk across the stage for their summer graduation. And the other thing I want to mention was yesterday. Yesterday morning, staff was out at schools and spoke to children, and I'm going to tell you the children got off the bus happy, ready to go to school, and many of them, believe it or not, said, "I'm glad the summer's over." So they were actually happy coming to school, and the teachers are smiling and the administrators were smiling. So it's going to be a wonderful year. Thank you so much.
I agree. That's a great place for me to pick up because my positive comment was just going to be thank you to everybody throughout the district that works hard to make sure that we start off another school year without a hitch. I know it's not easy moving 7,000 employees and nearly 58,000 students throughout a system, but yet you guys do it with expertise and with professionalism and with care and with dignity. And I want you to know that I know I speak on behalf of all the board members when I say that we sincerely appreciate your efforts. And we know it's just the beginning of a new year, and it's just the beginning of a week. So there's going to be more challenges to come, and we just know that we are surrounded by experts and professionals in this learning community to make sure that we succeed this year. Last thing I would comment on is that student did such a good job at the conference that Mr. Wheeler was talking about that he made a point 2 times of telling me how much better that student's speech was than my own that I gave.
I still love it.
Yeah, and so it must have been good. I unfortunately wasn't able to stay for that, but I did go and speak before the conference as a school board chair and just let everybody know that we were here and that we appreciate the work that the charter schools, particularly within that system, what they're doing and what they achieved this year as well. So. With that said, we will move on, and at this time, Mr. Boyd, we're going to adjourn from our regular board meeting and convene under our public hearing so we can take a look at our proposed revisions to the school board rules. So, Mr. Boyd, I'll turn it over to you at this time. Thank you, students. Have a great evening, and teachers.
Go do your homework.
Good evening, board. Happy new school year, everyone. And we're here tonight with our school board rule changes. This is open to public comment at the end of the summary of changes, and we request the board take action on these changes when we conclude. The first group of changes are actual changes to language in our school board rules, and there are 5 rules that are affected. Rule 3.80, school volunteers, revises paragraph 2 and adds citations that are currently changes in Florida statutes. Rule 4.11, student progression plan, adds virtual instruction and also adds citations that were recommended by Educational Management Consultant Services. Rule 5.301, student dignity, adds paragraph 5, permitting the superintendent to establish training and/or procedures that direct employees in regard to this rule. Adds paragraph 6, requiring administrators to consult with the Chief Human Resources Officer or his or her designee prior to applying any employee progressive discipline that either cites or relates to this rule. These changes were requested through OCEA. Rule 5.321, prohibiting bullying and harassment, revises paragraphs 1A, 2A, 6A, 10A, and 12 to align policy language with recommendations from the recent Florida Department of Education review of our existing policy. Rule 6.90, personnel records, revises paragraph 6, and this revision was requested by district staff. The next rules I'll just list by number and title. They all involve citation changes only and no changes to their language. Rule 4.10, the curriculum. Rule 4.113, academic acceleration. Rule 4.15, physical education. Rule 4.18, academic and career planning. Rule 6.61, HIV, AIDS, or other communicable diseases, bloodborne pathogens, and environmental hazards. Rule 8.14, inspections. All those are just citation changes only. The next group of changes are all affecting the student progression plan. One change affects the student progression plan at all levels, and that is a section that revises permitted absences to prearranged excused absences and revises policy language to specify the criteria for such absences. Then the remainder of the changes to the student progression plan involve the high school student progression plan. The first change revises graduation requirements charts to comply with the Florida Department of Education's technical assistance for the grade cohorts 2010-12 through 2013-14 high school student cohorts. Student progression plan change, the next one, revises criteria for the maximum age limit for attendance to comply with state law. There's a change that revises references to FCAT to simply state assessments. When we get the names of the tests, we'll be happy to revise this again. There's a change that revises the gifted educational plan to simply the education plan to comply with federal and state law. A change to revise attendance requirements for ESE students. A change that deletes the section entitled High School Courses of Study. A change that revises language to define the Zenith School Alternative School Program. A change that revises language to define the ESE curriculum. A change that revises the section entitled Advanced Placement Scholars Program to Advanced Placement Program and clarifies its requirements. A change to the section entitled Advanced International Certificate of Education Diploma Program and defines the requirements of this program. A change that deletes the electronic personal education plan, known as EPEP, requirement for college and technical education programs. A change that revises the section entitled Cooperative Education and On-the-Job Training, OJT, and the requirements of this program. A change that revises language to permit students to use a combination of any virtual education courses and regular public high school courses to meet graduation requirements. A change that deletes the section entitled Volunteer Service Credit. A change that revises the list of possible assessments to reflect new state assessments. A change that deletes the section entitled Student Performance Level Chart. A change that revises language to include multi-tiered system of support, MTSS, for gifted students. A change that revises language for access points for Florida standards to include social studies for ESE students. There's a change that adds a section entitled Graduation Requirements Charts for each cohort of graduating students, deletes obsolete charts, adds new charts with graduation requirements clarified, and deletes redundant or obsolete policy language. A change that adds a paragraph to clarify when ESE students may take Level 1 courses for graduation. A change that revises a section entitled EOC, or Intercourse Assessment Requirements, to clarify when an ESE student may waive these requirements. A change that revises references to ESE accommodations for state assessments to comply with state law. A change that deletes the section entitled Special Diploma Option 1A and revises the section entitled Special Diploma Option 1B to simply Special Diploma Option 1. And just so you're aware, at the next rulemaking cycle, we'll bring additional changes to you based on the current law that was just signed last month. There's a change that deletes the section entitled General Educational Development, GED. A change that revises the section entitled Participation in Graduation Ceremonies to clarify the requirements thereof. A change that revises the section for policy language to clarify when transfer course grades may be used in calculations for class rank, when class rank determination shall occur, and it establishes a committee to review parent complaints in regard to class ranks for students. A change that revises requirements for ESE students to participate in statewide alternate assessments. And the last change updates citations for the Florida statutes throughout as appropriate.
Thank you, Mr. Boyd. As mentioned, this is a public hearing, so if there's anybody here that would like to speak on these items, I would invite you to come up at this time. Okay, hearing and seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board at this time for any comments or questions.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the changes as presented.
Second.
Thank you, Boyd. We do have a motion by Mr. Long with a second by Mrs. Horn and the approval of our items under the public hearing. Any comments? Discussion, Mr.
John,
Miller.
good job. Very
Thank
concise. I appreciate you. You go through this every year, and I talk to board members from other counties, and they go through the same thing, but, you know, it seems like there's much more consternation, et cetera, with it, so I appreciate how good you are at it because you make it look so easy.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any other comment? Mine would just be Mr. Boyd and Mr. Akes. Dr. Akes, you know I both emailed you both on this. I just want to thank you for your efforts in pulling together the piece with regard to students and their rankings and GPAs and all the things that we dealt with last time. Just want to express my appreciation for your attention to making sure that that's taken care of so it's not repeated again in the future. So thanks to both of you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Board, anything else? Okay, hearing and seeing none, all those in favor please indicate by stating aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion does carry 5-0. John, as always, thank you, sir.
Thank you, John.
Okay, at this time, we will adjourn from our public hearing and reconvene under our school board meeting. There are no presentations. Superintendent appointment transfers are none at this time. Open for public comment. Ms. Stevens, I want to welcome you here this evening, invite you to come up, and you know the routine. If you please state your name and address to the record, and you'll be allotted 3 minutes to address the school board. Good evening to you, ma'am.
Good evening, Dee Stevens, 218 Cedarwood Circle, Kissimmee, Florida. I wanted to bring up, since Mrs. Otterson made the statement for the mission statement tonight, education which inspires all to their highest potential. I wrote to Tallahassee many years ago, and then they sent me back a eligibility statement which I'm certified. This certifies that Dina Stevens is eligible for the following classes: Program Specialist 1, 2, 3, 4, and Program Director 2 and 3. Several years ago, Mr. Andrews, before he was superintendent, he wanted me to come on board in curriculum, and I would have made a wonderful impact here in the district. Then, when he became superintendent, I went in to see him, and Mrs. Rorick Cope Otterson was brought into the office, and she says, "We don't have jobs here like that." She didn't give him the right information. I won't use the L word. I'm not making any attacks on anybody. And what happened, I have the old directories. I have listings of people who have jobs like that here in the district office. I'll give you this, Chairman. There's a copy in the superintendent's office, and then you can make copies for the board. Another issue here I wanted to speak on, the celebration paper. I'll do that on the end. People complain to me, well, I'm not, as far as electorally speaking, because they changed the districts, I am not in District 1 now. So from the election office, I have the residency requirements. So you had to qualify at the time to be in a specific district, which I was not. So some offices have different requirements. So that's cleared away so people don't understand that. Then I wanted to bring up about this article from Celebration, which Mr. Wheeler claims he did international baccalaureate and school uniforms. I spent a whole day in Tallahassee years ago helping to get that started. And then the school uniform program, this is the document that I did years ago, and I went around with a overhead projector pitching it from school to school, and this is from Dana Schaefer's Department School District, presented by Dee Stevens in 97, 98. I only get 3 minutes tonight. But I just wanted to say, very briefly, like in the show they used to have, To Tell the Truth, with the real Dee Stevens, please stand up. I'm the real Dee Stevens, Mr. Wheeler. You are the imposter. Please don't take credit for the work I did. You did one important thing in the district. That was the Girls and the Boys Club after school program, but that's it. And I commend you for that. But please don't take credit for all the work that I did over the years for those programs, because that is mine. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. Stevens. Board, we are at the time for agenda modifications. Let me ask, so before I move on, is there anyone else that wanted to speak this evening? Didn't have any additional slips handed in, but I want to make sure I afford that opportunity. Okay. Agenda modifications, I will go left to right. Mrs. Horn?
I would like to pull for discussion 5, 6, and 7.
5, 6, and 7 under which section?
Consent.
Consent under curriculum.
Curriculum and
Okay.
instruction.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll make note of that. Mr. Soto? Okay. Mr. Wheeler?
Yeah, I want to add I got one thing under old business, then under old business also, I'd like to add college readiness, which I talked to Mrs. Luciano about earlier today, so.
Okay, college readiness.
College readiness.
Mr. Long?
Mr. Chairman, if you have no items you wish to
Actually, I do
change.
have one I'm going to add.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead and add it,
Okay,
and I'll make
thank
the
you.
motion.
Just so you know, Board, under new business, I'm going to mention about the contract summary sheets, agenda items that we get in our board packets. Just so you're aware that when we get to new business, I will bring that up.
Contract summary sheets?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, with the exception of 5, 6, and 7, and Mrs. Horn pulled, I make a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Long. Board, there is a motion to approve consent agenda with the exception of items 5, 6, and 7 under curriculum instruction. Motion by Mr. Long with a second by Mrs. Horn. Discussion, Mr. Wheeler.
I just have a brief question, and it's not related to, we didn't ask Mel, but do you have any agenda modifications you want to make? Okay.
Thank you. Any other discussion on this? Okay. All those in favor, please indicate by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries 5-0. We'll move to those items that you pulled, Mrs. Horn, at this time. So number 5 is approved Mass Solutions contract.
Okay, first of all, I was raised not to look a gift horse in the mouth, so I'd like to say thank you. But I'd like to know the origin of these positions, just for informational purposes. Where were they introduced? When were they introduced, and so forth? How do we expect to fund these positions after the first year? Does the district expect the taxpayers to foot the bill, or we have to take money from classrooms, from general fund, or whatever to make these positions carry on?
Ms. Horn, since they are in Ms. Brisendine's area, I'm going to ask her to talk about the Houghton Mifflin or the Houghton Harcourt contracts.
And just for my own clarity, Mrs. Horn, just so I make sure, are we talking about all 3 items in that question?
Well, it's number 5.
Right.
Just 6 and 7 were pulled. Not,
Well,
I consent.
Hold on one
Agenda
moment.
item 5. Agenda item 5, 6 and 7.
Okay, thank you. That clarifies it for me.
Right.
So thank you, ma'am. So just items 6 and 7. So
And another
Dr.
comment.
Brizendine.
Yeah,
Thank you.
another comment too. We already have a curriculum textbook selection process in place. Is any of this going to change with these trainings and so forth? Being a former bookkeeper, I remember way back when.
Okay. I'll address item 6, which applies to elementary, and 7 if you'd like, and Mr. Allen can clarify, and Dr. Akes also if you'd like, for secondary. The HMH position is actually part of our adoption now. This is a practice that has been common in many large districts. When we adopt a new series, typically the professional development is provided kind of in a spotty service from the publisher, because they have to fly in a consultant to provide training. But as part of the adoption process, they're paying for the salary of a trainer who is on board and providing training to our teachers every day that they're called out. For elementary, we had this position last year because it was a first-year adoption for our ELA, or reading series. The publisher, HMH, is actually the same publisher who has provided us with materials for science and for math, and it made sense to have someone who could continue to train new teachers that came on board. So last year, the salary was paid out of a grant completely from the publisher. We saw the huge benefit of having that person on board, and negotiated that they extend that contract for a second year, and they agreed to do so at 50% of the cost, and we have matched the other 50% through a federal grant, and that's how we're paying for that. Now, after that year, the people that we hire, at least for elementary, they understand that this is a 1-year grant-funded position, and in no way do we expect to roll this cost into any kind of other funding, unless another grant appears or we have an increase in fund that allows us to do that.
And Ms. Horn, it's basically what has happened with our secondary as well. It's basically they are paying for it, and those teachers who have been hired for the position know that it's only for 1 year. That's it.
Okay, that's good. Thank you very much.
Does that satisfy your question on those items?
Yes.
Okay, board, so we did pull those two items, so I need a motion to approve.
Those two items as submitted, 6 and 7.
Thank you. So for clarity, I have a motion by Mr. Wheeler on approval of items 6 and 7 under consent agenda item number 5 with a second by Mrs. Horn. Am I correct, Mrs. Horn?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Board, any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please indicate by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion does carry 5-0. Thank you, Mrs. Horn. Okay, board, we're now down to information items. We're going to receive an update on the focus transition. Thank you, ma'am.
As Angela's getting ready, I just want the board to know that this has been a huge undertaking for her department, and I don't see any of them here because they're probably still working on it. And teachers started on Monday working with the focus program, so I just want you to know that Angela and her team have spent an inordinate amount of hours of getting this program up and running, and we just want to say thank you.
Can we get Ruben to help? I don't know where he loaded it.
Ruben, where is it?
Well, he comes to my saving grace here. Thank you, Ruben. I
Have
can go ahead
Mr.
and get
Long
started.
sing in the meantime if you'd like.
Thank you.
Ruben,
No?
Ruben is the indispensable man.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, that's one.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Rude.
All right. Thank you, Mrs. Luciano, for those wonderful comments. It truly has been quite an endeavor, and our staff has been absolutely phenomenal. It's my pleasure to bring to you an update of where we are with our LIS system. The project is part of Goal 3 of our district strategic plan. I know you've seen this icon before. This is the integration of the 3 modules. And in the past, every time you've seen it, it's because I'm getting ready to tell you we're ready to launch a new portion of a new module. Well, tonight I'm very pleased to tell you we've arrived, and you're seeing all 3 components up there, and all 3 components of our local instructional improvement system are up and live. Under the PCG umbrella, remember that we've got the 3 contracts. First of all, we have the learning management system under the PCG. That's called the IMS. It has a curriculum component and it has an assessment component. Under the professional development, there are 2 pieces. One is the professional evaluation system, and the other is the management of our professional development courses and offerings. In the student information system, which is our latest and greatest, you have in there the entire student information database, as well as the ability to monitor discipline, to conduct gradebook, to open up the parent portal and the student portal, as well as the teacher portal. All of those pieces are under the focus side. So together you can see that all 3 of them are what we call our combined and integrated local instructional improvement system. This is a sneak peek of kind of what our staff sees when they start to open up. The first thing you'll see on the top right-hand corner there is that little green PCG icon. That has been shifted out or sent out to all desktops of all employees. So no matter where they are in the district, they open up, they turn on their computer, and that little icon resides right there on their icon. It's what we call our landing page or our home page. When they click on that, they see the rest of this piece right here. And this is what we call our PCG homeroom, and as we refer to it, our landing page. From here, using single sign-on credentials, an individual can go to any one of the 3 components of our LIS. In the first one, when they click on the TNL component, again, there were two major pieces. The first one being the teacher effectiveness. This is the evaluation piece. Just as a reminder, last year we piloted 3 schools. This year we are going full and complete live. All of our schools, all teachers, all staff, all administrators will be using this system to conduct their professional evaluations. For those of you who remember, the program that we had before was eye observation. Now everything will be done under MyPGS. All elements of all components, no matter which one I talk about tonight, has an integrated factor in there, and that's why it's called an integrated system. So all of the information that's generated in some of the other modules
can be blended into this to gain further information and to make some programmatic decisions. A good example here is when the evaluations are done, it can connect to two pieces, one within its own module, the professional development piece, so that when we look at the evaluation of teachers, we can do some programming and assign courses to teachers for further professional development. All of the assessments that are done in the assessment module will link right back into here and connect into the teacher's evaluation process for the pre- and post-testing components. Under the in-service management, this is probably the oldest of the modules, and you've heard a little bit about this in the past, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here. This is the portion that manages, this is where teachers go in to sign up for professional development to get credit for their courses. So this has been in place since last March. Definitely encountered our fair share of challenges as we rolled this one out. I think most of it was because it was our first module to come out the gate, but it is up, it is running, and as problems come up, we work very hard with our vendor to solve them, and things are working much more smoothly. Yes, sir.
Glad you brought that. I've got a quick question about professional development. It's really for you, Mrs. Luciano, more than anybody else. As we're going through this, and I apologize for not asking, but I hadn't seen the presentation. You and I last year attended a meeting at UCF School of Education where they were showing a number of things they were doing for teacher professional development. And because we're on this page, I feel compelled to ask the question now. What are we doing to engage them relative to the stuff that you and I were participating and saw?
Oh boy, am I glad you asked.
Good.
Do you remember Teach Live?
Yeah,
which was the avatars?
That was the one that I didn't believe they had me do it, right?
Well, guess what? We just received an award, and when is it? Help me out here. Who gave September? It's in September next month, the 23rd. Janice and I will be going to St. Pete to receive an award because Osceola ranked top in creating something unique in a partnership. So we are doing amazing things with professional development, those things that we've learned, and actually implementing them.
So, and that's terrific. So now the next question, obviously, is when are you going to present what you developed?
After we come back from that meeting, we'll come and share with you.
Okay. That's right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Please.
Yes.
I was compelled to ask that.
Sure.
We'll get straight.
And I'm glad you asked, because I wasn't going to say anything, but that was a good thing. Thank you.
Under our PCG side, this is the instructional learning module management. Again, this is the piece that has two very important components. One is the management of our curriculum, and the other is the assessment platform that allows us to deliver some of those assessments. I can tell you by far, this was probably the one that was the slowest to come out the gate. It has been a true challenge to try to get this organized, both from the vendor side as well as from our own implementation side, and our focuses had shifted back and forth. Well, I can tell you that even though it started off as our slowest, it's now up to full speed and full momentum. The assessment platform was fully piloted last year and will be well underway starting next week, actually. We will be conducting some of our assessments for baseline, for formative assessments, and some of our end-of-year assessments, or end-of-year assessments are targeted to be on this particular platform. The curriculum side, we spent a tremendous amount of time this summer loading the standards in there, loading our curriculum maps, attaching content and building some sample lesson plans. This is the interactive side where teachers can actually do one-stop shopping, if you will. They can go in there, they draw in there the standards, they have the lesson planning template, they can attach the curriculum, they can search other databases and bring everything back and link it into the system. From here, they can launch the assessment platform. Our middle school group has truly taken on the ownership of this, and they are going full-blown this fall. I shouldn't even say this fall. We are in this fall. School has started. So they are launching the science and the math components, and the elementary and secondary curriculum have all been watching, and they've started delving in, and they too have some plans for launching particular sections of it. So that's been an exciting venture. Like I said, a little slow to get started, but they are up and going, and it will be utilized with our teachers and our staff and our students this fall. Focus. truly our most recent celebration, and obviously the largest of all of the implementations that we have done. For the last 20 odd years, everything that we have known has been terms. All of our data has been in terms, all of our interactions, all of our state reporting, all of our activity, anything having to do with student data has always resided in terms. Well, on August 4th, we pulled a switch. We put terms to sleep and we activated focus, and we've not gone back once. So talk about a little bit of a scary venture, but it has definitely been one of the most exciting things that I can tell you in my career that I have had the opportunity to be involved with. For the last 18 months, our staff has dedicated themselves to doing all of the work involved in a major migration like this. Everything from the planning, the moving of the data on over, the validation process that has started, all of the training that we did, all of these pieces our people have been intimately involved in for the last 18 months. I have to tell you, we've conducted our first round of scheduling. All of our students started school this year. Schedules were all generated on our focus system. We have actually conducted our first state survey using the data and launching and delivering directly from our focus system. We have trained and we implemented this fall gradebook for all of our teachers. Brand new gradebook system, everyone. Trained during pre-planning, and all of the information that they are gathering with regard to student performance is going to be gathered in the new focus gradebook. We are in the process of pulling together all of the pieces necessary to ensure that our progress reports and our first round of report cards are ready to go next month. This project has been a huge endeavor all the way across the district. It has touched, I think, everybody, every department, every staff member in one way or another. I'll show you a few of the statistics there. It's been continuous hours of discovery, of building, and of customizing and testing our systems. When we first started this, I will tell you that the biggest challenge that I saw was training, and I looked at how much we had to do to get our staff ready, and I thought, I don't know how we're going to do this. Well, now, 12 months later, I sit back and I say, okay, what's our biggest challenge today? And our biggest challenge today is ensuring that we can support our end users. So we're working very hard. We couldn't do it without the support of our staff. We certainly could not do it without the support of our vendors. They have been with us every step of the way. They practically live here in Osceola County. They have done site visits with us. They've been out in the schools all of this week. They were out there during the week of pre-planning. They're there side by side manning our hotlines. As I said, every step of the process, every challenge. And I think the biggest compliment that Bethany, the project manager from Focus, paid us was on Monday evening at the end of our first day of being live. And she said, I have to tell you folks, congratulations. This has been the smoothest implementation that we have seen to date. Lots of questions, tremendous number of phone calls, an awful lot of hand-holding, but absolutely nothing that we have not been able to resolve and get through. We've done 16 integrations. Those alone, in order to ensure that our transportation system was up and running, absolutely no hiccups with that. Our food service program, ready to go the day the students arrived, did not get any phone calls in regards to issues with that. So those are major accomplishments, and like I said, I couldn't do it without giving kudos to our staff who for the last 18 months has truly dedicated their lives to ensuring that we are successful. Do we have a lot left to do? Absolutely. We're just beginning to discover what the system can do for us. So we are definitely going to rise to the occasion, and I know that the implementation of our LIS system will outperform all of the other districts in the state of Florida. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Before we open it up for any other questions or comments from board members, I just want to express our thanks to you and to Art and to your team. Everybody's working to make sure that this rollout was successful and that we started off the school year without a hitch. So I just want to thank you sincerely for that.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. Yes, ma'am. Training. Everybody doesn't learn at the same level.
No.
Is there training available for people that need it?
Yes.
Additional training.
Yes, continuous training. Also within this PCG homepage, there is something that we call Focus Homeroom or Focus Academy. and the individuals, so if they went to a training and they still need additional support and help, all of the materials are on there and they can do it at a self-paced level as well. So it's being supported in multiple formats. More training to be scheduled in the fall as we continue to go out.
That's great.
Thank you. Dr. Eggs, how glad are you to see us move from the antiquated term system to the focus system now, right? I don't even have to ask, do I?
No, you don't.
I'm glad. Yeah, I could imagine. Thank you, all of you, for your work through that process as well. Mr. Wheeler?
I got one question.
Yes, sir.
Because we made the transition, how much impact did this transition have on what happened with our high school report cards? Was there any impact from this, or was that something unrelated?
The report cards were generated from our term system. They were not generated from the focus system.
So, but the transition had nothing to do with
No,
it?
sir.
Okay, that's all I
And
wanted.
this is part of the solution to make sure it's never happens again.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Board, any other comments? Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Superintendent, for bringing this to us. Next item is Health Insurance Local Plus Network update.
And we're going to have Ken come up and speak, but before he starts, I just want the board to know that after our last meeting, there was a lot of conversation with Ken and Todd. They in turn went and spoke to the individuals from Cigna and from AJ Gallagher, and I'm just so pleased with the options that they have come up with. There was a lot of work amongst all of you, and I appreciate the collaboration, so I wanted to say thank you.
Yep, and I would echo that as well, and I expressed that in an email today, but thank you, and we're looking forward to hearing some updates from you now.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Luciano, and thank you, Board. Appreciate the opportunity to provide this update. We're actually excited to be able to share this information with you. As Mrs. Luciano said, after the board meeting, we did meet with the Cigna representatives and identified several of our top utilized or highly utilized providers. As of this morning, through their reevaluation of some of those providers, we've been notified that we have 19 additional providers that we'll be adding to the Local Plus network. Normally that process takes place as of January 1st to add them, but they've gone the extra steps. Cigna is going the extra step and actually allowing us to add these 19 providers effective October 1st, which is great. And the fact that it's actually we're being notified ahead of time of actually open enrollment starting is even better, so we can get this information out hopefully before the end of this week to our employees as open enrollment actually starts next week. So we'll be able to make our employees aware of who those providers are, so if their provider is in that group, that they can choose one of the Local Plus plans if that's where they would like to be rather than the buy-up plan. So, so we're real excited about that. The evaluation process is still ongoing. It does, they've shared with us that it runs through October 1st. So there is some possibility that there could be additional providers that could come on the network or be approved to be added to the network. At this time, of course, we don't know how many that might be or how impactful that might be to the program. But what we have done is discussed it with Gallagher, the benefits consultant, and we have the opportunity to do kind of a mini open enrollment if we see that there are an impactful number of additional providers that come on to the Local Plus network. We could do a mini open enrollment in January or sometime early December for a January 1 effective date, but we'll have to kind of evaluate that as that information becomes available to us. But that is definitely an option that we could, possibly have a period of time where those that specifically chose the buy-up plan because their physician wasn't in the network or whatever, they would have an opportunity to potentially make a change from that buy-up plan to one of the other Local Plus plans. So that's great news as well. I'd also like to share with you or remind you of some highlights of our new plan, the new medical plans that we've kind of shared with you in a workshop previously, but I just wanted to kind of point some of these items out and bring them to your attention again. Both of our wellness plans that we're offering actually reintroduce co-pays for primary care and specialty care. Which is a feature that a lot of our employees have been asking about and inquiring, can't we go back to co-pays instead of the co-insurance amounts? So we're excited about that, being able to reintroduce those. As part of healthcare reform, the co-pays, the co-insurance amounts, and the deductibles all now apply to the max out-of-pocket that is the maximum that would be the employee's responsibility. Under the wellness plans, the deductible does not apply until the employee actually seeks services outside of the physician's office. So if they go to the primary care or the specialist care where there is a copay only, they don't have to meet that deductible first. They immediately start paying just the copay. So they only start getting into the deductible if they're referred outside the doctor office visit for additional services. In an effort to encourage or continue to promote and encourage use of generic drugs, all three plans have a deductible on the pharmaceutical side, but if our employees choose to use generic drugs, the deductible is waived. So it's, like I said, it's an encouragement to the employee to use generics where they're available, and so that's an added benefit as well to those programs. The next one, at the request of, again, over several years, we've had several requests from our members regarding first-year mammograms, or the first mammogram that they receive each year. Ladies that are eligible, beginning this year with the new plans, ladies that are eligible for a mammogram will now receive their first mammogram for free, whether it's diagnostic or preventative. In the past, if they were being seen or given a mammogram or ordered to have a mammogram because of diagnostic reasons, that one was not free. So now, whether it's diagnostic or preventative, those will be free, the first one for each year. So we're excited about that as well. And of course, preventative care continues to be provided and covered at 100%. So that's a continuation, and that hasn't changed as well. And again, with the preventative care, they don't have to meet the deductible. The deductible nor the copays apply to preventative care. So those services are covered at 100%, and they don't have the individual members nor their family members, if they are covered, have to meet those deductibles or copays in order to receive those benefits. Kind of taking a look at some of those highlights, we'd like now to take a minute and kind of step back a little bit, and Tom Gallagher, Area Vice President from Gallagher Benefit Services, is going to talk to you a minute about kind of the current Cigna arrangements and also some creative cost initiatives that we're implementing.
Thank you, Ken.
My name is Tom McGaffick with Arthur J. Gallagher. First, want to thank you for the opportunity to serve the district and your members. We truly appreciate that opportunity. I want to briefly talk today about the agreement with Cigna that's currently in place, as well as some of the cost savings initiatives that have been put in place over the last 3 years for the district. I think it's important to talk about the funding arrangement that's currently structured. We have a self-funded arrangement with Cigna, and what that means is the district has a contract with Cigna where we pay a fixed per employee per month fee for Cigna to provide administrative services to the district. And what they're doing is providing us access to the providers that they have within their network, and the district then in turn is actually billed by Cigna for the claims that those members incur. So the district is really taking on the risk in a self-funded arrangement, and we see some significant advantages with that approach for large employers, typically 500 employees or more, because of economies of scale. And typically what happens under a fully insured plan is we would see that administrative costs could be somewhere between 15 to 20%. Under the self-funded plan that the district has currently with Cigna, the administrative costs, the ASO fee that's paid to Cigna is about 5% roughly of the total cost for the district. The fully insured plan, as I mentioned, another one of the components that really make this less advantageous is from a Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act perspective. So for a fully insured client under healthcare reform, they're actually being charged 1.5% to 2.5% more each year than a self-funded employer. So those are immediate cost savings. Obviously, under a fully insured arrangement, the insurance carrier is charging a little bit more to bear that risk. So for them to take on that exposure for claims, they're going to charge a little bit more for that. And the district currently has a stop-loss program in place with Cigna. It's a fancy word for insurance at a very high level. So that level is $850,000 currently. So if an individual during the medical plan year exceeds or actually reaches $850,000, then the insurance will kick in. So it's really an opportunity to manage catastrophic exposures for the district. So early on in this year, one of the initiatives that the district did was to reach out to Cigna, as we do on an annual basis, and ask them to present some of the creative strategies that they've developed for their clients. And Cigna, after that request, came to the district with the Local Plus network. And it was a program that Cigna had actually developed to try to manage costs for employees and employers, especially with healthcare reform pressures and increasing medical trend and inflation aspects. I think it's important to note as well, under the arrangement that we have with Cigna for the district on a per employee per month basis, Cigna has no financial incentive to really push this program, and we'll talk about the way the cost will change for administrative fees that were paid to Cigna this last year versus this coming year. They're actually going to be decreasing. So when we move from the health reimbursement arrangement, the HRA plan, to the Local Plus, we actually are reducing the check that's going to go to Cigna on an annual basis. So one of the roles that our firm does is provide financial projections to the district. So we really look at where the district is currently and where the district's going. We have these discussions throughout the year. We're looking at the numbers on a monthly basis. And in February of 2014, we sat down with the district and the insurance committee, and we looked at where the district was currently. And where we are for this last fiscal year was about $3.8 million loss that the insurance or the trust fund took for actual contributions from the board as well as employees and the claims and administrative costs that were paid. So that was a factor as we looked at our projections for this next year. When we met in February of 2014, we projected that a 25% rate increase would be needed to keep the exact plan designs that are in place currently to be effective for October 1st. That translates to about an $11.3 million shortfall. So with that information, the insurance committee really got to work. And the insurance committee, as many of you are probably aware, is really a diverse group that I think fairly represents the district. It's teachers union, non-union members, it's Teamsters, it's ESP, and it's retirees. And they've collaborated probably over a 4-month time frame, many times, twice a month, to discuss these issues. And I think the thing that's most interesting to me is how sensitive they are to the impact and change on employees when they have to make a change here for the district. So through those collaborations, the committee came up with some recommendations for the plan. Lauren, if you can go to the next slide. And the recommendations were towards the Local Plus as one of the strategies, and the combined recommendations that were actually implemented are still expected to have approximately a $3.4 million shortfall for this next year. The specific fees to Cigna, that number that I mentioned in the reduction, is about $72,000 in fees that will be paid less to Cigna with the move to the Local Plus from the HRA plan. And in the context of all of this, we're always very sensitive to compliance issues. And one of the things that the district is regulated by is Florida Statutes 11208, which is insurance requirements. And one of the big ones there is around the surplus that we must have at all times, so about 3 months of claims available. So when we're looking at these projections, it's also important to understand that the district has to have dollars there. So we couldn't have gone to a position to keep the current plans that were in place because the state just would not have allowed it. When we look back over a 3-year time frame, I think this is a compelling number when we look at these two differences. In July of 2011, the medical cost per employee per month were $529.42. And they moved in July of 14 over that 3-year span. The average was actually $645.43. So that's a 22% increase, and that is a very difficult position for the district to be in. It's not anything unlike other districts or other employers are facing over that time frame. When we look at the high contributors to that, it's really a number of things. I think the first and most noteworthy is medical trend or inflation. So the escalating cost of medical care every year that we're dealing with. Some of the other contributors to that was high spouse medical costs. When we met in February and looked at those specific numbers, spouses on average are costing the district 55% more than what it's costing an employee. 40% of the members currently at the district or that are on the district's medical plan have a chronic condition. So something similar to heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, a number of different conditions that could lead to escalated medical costs. So we see those members are driving 71% of the costs of the district. And when we look at those conditions, those are where our wellness initiatives are really geared towards. Aging workforce is another significant issue. The average employee age of the district is continuing to actually get older and not younger as employees are staying on longer. The district is contributing towards programs for older individuals, and we know those are costing more. Over that same 3-year period, the state funding per student has increased by only 7.7% in comparison to that significant increase for medical costs. Even though we have this 22% increase, I think it's very important to talk about where we are in relation to the market. And I think that there's a lot to be proud of for the district and where we actually are. The national average increase over those 3 years is 27.6%. So by consistently on average over that 3-year time frame, beating that average, we've actually been able to avoid and outperform the market by approximately $5.9 million over that time frame. There's a number of initiatives that the district has really implemented, and I think the first priority of the insurance committee, as well as the benefits team, is the priority of the employees and their families and their health. And when we look at all of these programs, that's the main focus around these. Ken had talked about mammograms being covered at 100% this year. The combination of that, as well as preventative services covered at 100%, really defines this value-based plan design. So a commitment to members to really take care of preventative care and to understand the importance of people being screened early for certain conditions. The district has had incentives in place that encourage healthy behaviors. I think one of the things that they should be very proud of is that primary care and wellness visits well past the national average and average school districts that we see for participation. It's very important that members are engaged with the primary care physician because we know the coordination of care is so important when it comes to people staying healthy. One of the initiatives they had was for wellness visits, employees could get a $100 contribution to their flexible spending account, and that was very impactful. When we look at health overall, we're very aware and sensitive to the fact of what illness does to a family and individuals in a community. And one of the things that the district implemented this year was health screenings. And we saw this as an opportunity to meet a number of employees and spouses that have not engaged in many, many years with a healthcare professional. We know that there's members that have not seen a healthcare professional in over 10 years. Our firm had the opportunity to work with a client in South Florida, and we did the health screenings with them at their transportation department. We had 3 ambulances that had to be called after those health screenings were done. And we expect that there's going to be a number of very powerful stories that come out of this, and more importantly, opportunities for people to make positive changes for their health and improve their lifestyle. We're going to be able to get excellent and important data on an aggregate level for the district understand how to really create and continue to improve on the wellness programs that we're offering. So currently we have over 20 wellness programs that are in place. Some of those specifically are mobile mammograms that will be happening this year. That's going to be a new initiative. Cancer is the highest costing disease state to the district. So I think this is a great one to promote wellness. There's a diabetes management and education program. There's mature walking programs and weight management programs that are in place. There's health kiosks that are currently in place, and healthy babies and healthy pregnancies really to promote that for expecting mothers. A couple of the things that we're doing currently is exploring options for clinics within the district for their employees and exploring a pharmacy group purchasing coalition with other school districts. So I appreciate the opportunity to share some of these initiatives with you and provide an overview of the current relationship with Cigna. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Wheeler?
Okay, first off, thank you for the presentation. Some of this was very encouraging, but there's one piece of this that nobody can, I think we're being fiscally responsible. I think we're doing the best we can with what we've got, but when you look at, and you spelled it out perfectly, costs have gone up 22% in 3 years for this, and our funding's only gone up 7.7% in 3 years, which means this is just unsustainable. It's nobody's fault. But this is where it is. It is an unsustainable, it's just math. It's just, you can't do that. So there's a couple of questions I've got first. Explain exploring clinics. What does that mean? I don't know what that means.
So, Mr. Wheeler, we've had initial dialogues with Florida Hospital and actually engaged some of their key officials to talk about some of the actual facilities or physician groups that they have available now. So we're looking at multiple opportunities. Obviously, that's the first step, probably in a longer process of evaluating a number of different providers, but that would be to provide an opportunity for district employees to engage with something similar to a primary care physician or a clinic where they could actually receive preventive care.
Okay, let me ask another question then. Polk County government, City of Ocoee, St. Johns County School District, and Rosen Hotels all have their own clinics. Have any of you visited those clinics in the past year?
Not in the past year. We have visited the city of Lakeland actually has one as well,
Okay.
and we have visited that one a number of years ago. Whenever we actually we did the whole RFP process for regarding a clinic, and we ended up putting it on the back burner.
I remember. That was about
But
2008,
yeah, that time
2009.
we did visit that clinic.
I think that we need to be, I appreciate talking to Florida Hospital. I'm not discouraging that at all. There are models out there that are working for different agencies and businesses. And the point is, I think that we need to do more than just look at papers. We need to actually walk in, talk to, visit, et cetera. You know, one of the issues that we need to be sensitive, we've got teachers. They can't afford to put their kids on their plan. You know, we've got professionals here who can't afford to put their spouses on their plan. We've got, next year, our total out-of-pocket deductible could be as high as $12,000. If you're a bus driver, you know, you're making $15,000, $20,000, you can't afford it if you had a catastrophic event. Which is, again, I think that we are doing the best we can in the market that we're in, and the market is what the market is. I don't think we can necessarily change a lot of the market. I think that we need to take better care of our employees and their families. I mean, that's what this is really about, taking care of employees and their families. Unless somebody can come up with a better solution, we need to start looking at the prospect of being a healthcare provider with clinics, if it's contracted or our own. I don't know. I've got friends that are physicians that I've been talking to. One of them is Dr. Garrity. He owns the Women's Center. I mean, I had dinner with him recently, and he, chewed my ear off ad nauseum. He'd like to come and address us. Other providers, Dr. Black, et cetera, Dr. Markentel. I mean, they've all shared what they think that we can do. And again, it's not a criticism on anything that we're doing. We're not doing anything wrong. But the economics of where we are isn't going to work for us. We're not a store that we can all of a sudden decide we're going to mark something up more. There's two things we pay market rates for: bus fuel and healthcare. And healthcare, our employees who qualify for health insurance, are being priced out of providing health insurance for their families or even for themselves. And again, it's nobody's fault. So we need to come up with something different, and I appreciate what you're exploring. We need to turn exploring into exploring on steroids, no pun intended.
Yes, sir.
That's what I've got.
Mr. Long?
Mr. Wheeler, I can really appreciate this. This is the first time I've heard you say anything on this matter in over 12 years. I know the 4 years that I've been here, every time this comes up, I keep saying we can do better, and you've been silent. I appreciate you going on television last night and trying to say something positive about this. Finally, thank goodness that you said something. I agree with you, or you're agreeing with me, whatever, that our employees, they're our customers in this healthcare. And I brought this up every year, more than once, that we can do better. That we can say it's market driven. Yes, it's market driven, yes, but we are the market. If we're not satisfied with one program, we can seek out others. We can, they talked about the pharmacy coalition. I've talked about trying to join with other school districts, economy of scale. And I guess it just, I don't know, maybe your pilot light was out, I don't know. When I look at our employees, the cheapest program we've got here, the premium, the cheapest one is $8,000. $8,000, bus driver makes less than $18,000. Many of our employees make less than $18,000 a year before taxes. So you're looking for them to give up half their pay just to keep health care for their family. Look, it's always the premium, then it's the copay, then it's the deductible. So if you've got a family, and the guy's a bus driver or a secretary or someone that's making less than $20,000 a year, and now they have, maybe not catastrophic, but maybe an illness, a child breaks an arm, a hospital stay or whatever, there goes their mortgage. They can't pay their mortgage. They can't pay their rent. They can't buy groceries. Thank you, Mr. Wheeler, for coming along. Thank you. And maybe now with the board majority doing something, saying, come to us with something. Actually tell us. Bring in someone from another district and say, yes, we sat down together and we talked to Orange, or we talked to Volusia's cost per is less than ours. What are they doing different than what we're doing? Maybe we should join with Volusia County. The economy of scale. You know this. We all know this. We've heard me say it for 4 years. We have to do something for that employee, that bus driver that, my child is sick. Do I go to the doctors today knowing that I've got an $800 monthly premium and there's going to be a copay hit, and then if I have to go and get a prescription, there's this deductible and there's this copay. There was some discussion about, and I'm not an expert in this, there's got to be somebody that is an expert in this. Mammograms are free. I happen to know several women that say they go get a mammogram, and the first thing they do is, we've got to have an MRI because the mammogram is no longer valid. Correct me if I'm wrong, and then there's the cost for that. So for that family of 3 or 4 that may be a first-year teacher or a secretary or first-year mechanic or bus driver, whatever, they can't afford this. They can't afford this. I've been saying this for 4 years. Thank you for jumping in. Board, I'd like to see the board majority say, yes, we are giving staff direction to actually go and have a sit-down with any other district and say, could we work together? See if they have Cigna. See if we have to put this out in the street. Whatever we have to do to come up with something to save our employees. $8,000 out of an $18,000 gross is murder. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to start off with a couple of comments. I'll get into some questions. The first comment is what I said at the very beginning, which is a thank you for listening to the board at our last meeting, being responsive and being proactive about trying to find some of the solutions to the concerns that were raised. I want you to know I appreciate that. And Todd, thank you for reaching out to me as well. My question under that, though, is regarding process. And there's no criticism in the question. It's really just for my own benefit and trying to learn and understand. is we've expanded the opportunity to be additional local providers that are now going to be part of the Local Plus network. Am I understanding though correct that even though that they now have an opportunity to be part of that network, that they maybe not necessarily have agreed to the fee schedule that's associated with that network? Is that 2.0 of that process, or is it they get paid what they're used to getting paid? Yes?
That's what we understand, that the fee schedule does not actually change. It's
okay.
Totally separate issue.
Okay, that's good, and I just need to understand that. So the first point for me is a kudos. The other thing I'd like to hit on is, we all know this, but your slide really made these points very clear, and I may mess up some of the quoting of the numbers, but you said somewhere along the lines about 40% are driving about 71% of the medical costs that we're realizing, and we know that that's true, and maybe the numbers just really make it come to life so you really see it. The other thing is that spouses are contributing or costing 55% more than our actual employees are. Those are real numbers that we need to be very aware of and very sensitive to, board. The other thing that I think that really lends to all of this is how little people really know about how insurance really works and how important wellness really is to helping drive down these costs and making benefits such as insurance that employers are providing something that's truly viable and sustainable. And I'll use an example that literally just happened to me yesterday. I had to go to the doctor, and when I was finishing up, I said to the lady that was checking me out, what is my visit today going to cost, and what is my visit next week as a follow-up going to cost? And I kid you not, she said, what? And I said, well, I want to know what it's going to cost. And she said, well, you have insurance. I said, there's still a cost. I want to know what it's going to cost. I want to understand what I'm going to have to pay and what the impact's going to be on my insurance. My point in sharing that, which is a very true and personal story, is that, number one, I'm convinced that throughout our society, people don't do that. And people don't really think about what the true cost is, and they just think that they pulled out a magic card, they put it on the counter, and somehow that all the costs just disappeared. So my point in going down this road is, I think there's some real opportunity for us. I mean, we're an education establishment, and I think that there's some opportunity for education when it comes to our employees. And I'm not implying that anyone's incompetent or doesn't understand, but it's just part of our society. It's the way that it is because we're not paying it out of our own pocket, because it's a third payer system. We just don't necessarily think about the cost with it. I think there's some real opportunity for us there to really think about how is it that we can be, and I know things are happening, but maybe on a more robust level, proactive about educating our employees about really how expensive these things are. And Todd, I think you're really going to appreciate this, is that when we go to the doctor or we go to the emergency room because we have a concern and maybe we really didn't need to go to the emergency room and that drove up cost and now it's more expensive, what that ends up doing ultimately to our ability as a school district and as an organization that has a limited amount of funds available to really be able to continue to offer benefits that really meet the needs and the concerns, to Mr. Wheeler and Mr. Long's point, of people that maybe aren't making the type of salaries that they would really like to make. People need to understand that there is a direct cost correlated to all of these things, and every time they go to the doctor or they go to the emergency room or they go to the clinic or they go to the specialist for whatever the purpose may be, that it's not free. And it does come with a cost, and it does affect our ability to be able to maintain programs that we've had in the past, and requires us then to be nimble about shifting them. So those are comments. The other thing I would hit on is, I know that there's some things going on, and you guys try to do a good job of getting the messaging out when it comes to wellness. We know how important wellness is, and we know that, again, if you think about the 40% that you mentioned that are driving 71% of the cost, if those 40% would be more proactive about looking at their own health and well-being and how those costs are ultimately driving for everybody. I know we're doing things. I'm not pretending that I have the answer of how we need to go about this, but man, I just think if we can do a better job of making sure our employees know that your wellness is not only beneficial to you because we care about you as a human being, we care about your life, but also think about the financial implication. And we start talking about deductibles and co-pays and premiums going up, it's all directly correlated to how we all live our lives on a day-to-day basis. And again, I just think we need to make sure that our employees are hearing that and understanding that. And again, that's not to say that things aren't happening. I know they are, but I just think that the message isn't getting through. And let me clarify too, it's not getting through not because we're unique. It's not getting through in society. It's not getting through as a whole. And that's why I made the comment that we're an education establishment, and so let's think about how is it that we can be more purposeful and effective at educating people. The wellness initiatives, promotions, all that, great. I would also point out too, my opinion is that most of the people, and probably, most people are probably upset about the changes, and people don't like change, and I get that. But there could also be a real fact here that the ones that maybe are the most upset about the changes, or maybe are impacted or feel like they're being impacted the most, may also be some of those same contributors that we're talking about to the higher cost. So again, this is all part of that education comment that I'm making. The last thing I wanted to just hit on with my peers here is clinics and collaboration with other districts. I don't think it can go unsaid that I definitely am in support of that. I know, Mr. Long, you and I have agreed a couple of times regarding the fees that we pay with regard to what gets paid to Cigna. There's an opportunity to see some additional cost savings there. I know that we necessarily haven't accomplished anything in those regards yet, but I think as we think about the big picture, that's important. I know that a few years ago, the county, and Ken, you may know this all too well and probably better than I do, but I know the county a couple of years ago talked about clinics as well. I don't really know where they ended up with it. I wonder if there's not opportunity for us again to talk to the county and the cities and see about collaboration there. Go ahead.
I did actually speak with the city of Kissimmee. From what I understand, the county either did not, I'm not exactly sure where the county is with a clinic, but the city of Kissimmee has a clinic that is up and running, and I had an opportunity, actually Friday, I guess, I spoke with her at the city of Kissimmee about their program.
Yeah, and I don't think the county has. I just mentioned it because I know it was something that they were talking about, and again, I'm going back at least a couple of years, if not more at this point. But Melba, as you and I may be going to the Leaders Lunch coming up here soon, it's maybe something we can bring up because we're all dealing with the same thing. We're all large employers, unfortunately, and as a result of that, we're all trying to figure out how to curb cost. The other thing is when it comes to collaboration with other districts, I don't pretend to know what other districts are charging and what their fees are and what the benefits are across the board. I think some of my peers maybe know a little bit more than me on that. But I think, again, if we're going to look at how we're going to deal with this in a very holistic level, I want you to know I was very encouraged to see that those are on your list of things that you're looking at. And I think my request, and I'm thinking it might be the request of my peers here, is that we ramp up our efforts to try to explore all of those options. What we're doing now in expanding the access for this Local Plus network, I think is something that's good. It's a step in the right direction. But we need to be very aggressive and very proactive about how we're going to deal with this so that we don't sit back here next year having these same type of woes and conversations. So my conclusion would be thank you. I appreciate your work and I appreciate the update. Mr. Long?
Yes, I just wanted, we are being proactive internally with our wellness programs. I know when I came on the board, pushed for, and we got tobacco-free schools. We're pushing that, make sure that helps, because that's one of our #1 killers. Cancer is #1 killer right now. I'm going to ask a question, and I do not, there'll be a big fat asterisk on the wall saying you're not being held to this number. No guess here. I know that many years ago I had a medical problem, I had to go to the hospital, and I had surgery, and I snapped my Achilles tendon. And the cost for morphine, as soon as I woke up after the surgery, I pulled that thing off me, I don't want this. And then they're bringing me a $20 generic aspirin. Well, we know that the cost of that's because the people that are always coming in the hospital don't have insurance. The question being, now with national health care, and now with everybody supposedly being insured, I'm not holding you to yes or no answers. Do you think that in the future, in a few years, you'll see a leveling off of these costs to the school district?
The trends that we started to see, Mr. Long, have started to decrease slightly, and I guess the big question out there is whether that's the costs have really become so high that people can't afford them, so they're really just staying away from getting the appropriate care, and then there's going to be this popping of the balloon. But we do see them probably leveling out to a certain degree. That's kind of the expectation. They've decreased slightly, and those projections that we had there on a national average were actually very aggressive compared to what we see in Florida. We typically see 8 to 10% increases on the average. We have seen this last year a little better than that. But overall, I still think it's going to be a challenge. I can't say that our actuaries or our team has really seen a major impact in medical inflation because of healthcare reform that's been positive.
Thank you.
I agree. Mr. Wheeler.
You know, I have just one question. What was the actual amount paid to Cigna for administrative costs?
$2.4 million for the ASO fee for the last 12 months through July.
Thank you.
Mr. Wheeler.
You know, I just want to point out, even if we can save, a third on what we're spending, that spending is still going up twice as fast as our revenue's coming in. That's 7.7 to 14% versus 7.7 to 22%. And the bottom line is that if we keep on this path, we'll go broke. It's simple math. I mean, you can't have expenses go up that much quicker than your income is, and we can't help either one of those. We're not doing anything wrong. So we are in a position where we don't just need to see if we can find something. We have to. We have to, or it's going to. The health care will eat us alive. That's where it's going to. For better or worse. And you're right, Mr. Weissar. We are set up to educate children between the ages of 5 and 18. There's no question, or 4 and 18, VPK. There's no question about it. That is the number one priority. But for better or worse with that, we've got 7,000 employees and their dependents who make that machine work. And to make that machine work, we need to, and we're doing the best we can with what we've got. We now have to find solutions we never considered before. So, the universe has been this, now we got to color outside the lines. So, again, I appreciate ramping up efforts, accelerating, and board, I would encourage the board to also go look at, go talk to people, look at clinics on your own, from businesses, from other government agencies, because we have to find a solution sooner rather than later. And Mrs. Luciano, and you guys have, Cigna, I appreciate you guys being here. Tom, I appreciate you being here. Ken, I appreciate, the work you've done. Mrs. Luciano, you and I have had brief conversations about it. What do you think?
It's nothing that we haven't discussed already, Mr. Wheeler.
I know.
We've had a conversation in regards to clinics at the very beginning of the year, and we know that that's something that we have to look at. We can't continue going in the red. We just can't. Right now, we're in the red as it is, $3 million, if I'm not mistaken?
Well, this year was $3.8 million.
$3.8 million, and we just cannot continue to.
On that particular fund,
Yeah.
I'm going to suggest this, and I don't know how everybody feels. I think that, we need to consider, this is a big animal, and I appreciate you want to accelerate this, but I think that we need to consider a meeting with our healthcare insurers, our consultant, et cetera, but also invite some local providers and just hear what they've got to say. I mean, these guys, they're in this business every day. These physicians in the community, these pharmacies, et cetera. I don't know how the rest of the board feels about it, but some sort of a workshop, retreat, et cetera, meeting, just, see what they've got to say. I think some more collaboration with people who know stuff that we don't know.
I agree. I think with Mr. Wheeler and what Mr. Long had to say, Tim, I think that you were able to illuminate further on the discussion. That I think it's that time. And if, Jay, what you're asking is whether this board is willing to go ahead and start taking a new look at this. I don't think we have a choice.
Yeah, I would agree. Mr. Long, do you have any input?
Well, I'm just thinking, wow, all these years that went by.
Well, Tom, you're still on the board.
Just a minute. When I'm looking at this and saying when I first came on what the first premiums were, and this co-pays and deductibles, and I actually met with some bus drivers and stuff that were very upset, and I sympathize with them. And I try to bring it forward then and look at this, okay, when we talk about additional clinics and additional providers, that's the simple part, finding this additional, let's have a clinic, that's the simple, these are local people. That doesn't drive down the cost. We have to find a way to drive down the cost to our employees, which are our customers. These are the people that we need to help. The bus driver that's working and all of a sudden he breaks his leg or something and he can't work, and now he's got all these deductibles and co-pays and hospital bills and everything else. and he'll go broke. The lowest common denominator. Yes, we need to do something. Yes, we should have done it before we approved just a few months ago the contract we have now. So yes, let's get her done. Let's get her
Mrs.
done now.
Swan, do you agree with the idea of us having a workshop and some dialogue and working with Mr. DeBoard and the superintendent to kind of explore additional
Absolutely. I
options?
think that we're at a critical state right now. We need to move forward and do something that's
Okay.
beneficial to all
So,
concerned.
Superintendent and Mr. DeBoard, I'll work with you on who, what, when, where, how, all those type of
Sure.
details, and we'll try to bring some together so that we can all become a little bit more educated. And also, I should point out too, understand, it's easy for us to sit up here and say, well, we need to solve this and this and this, and understand the challenges that you and your staff face every single day with trying to realize these things that we want to see happen. That's not to say I think that we can't get there. I definitely think we can. But let's bring some great minds together and have a robust conversation about what the next phase of this is going to look like. Okay?
May I just ask one other thing? And Mr. Soto, you asked as to how much it costs, how much we pay Cigna, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. Did we have another company as well prior to Cigna? Was there anyone else?
No. Well, Cigna's been our provider for how long now?
And is it usually about the same amount of money that we pay?
Yeah, they
Well,
pay.
Sorry.
How much do they pay per employee per claims expense? What is that amount?
It's
Does it
actually
say?
gone down. When we went out to bid in 2012, the rate per employee per month actually went down as a result of that RFP process.
Thank you.
And again, thank you, gentlemen, and Cigna, I want to thank you guys for being here as well. I know this is important to you and your business, and you know that it's important to us, and so we appreciate you being here to hear our concerns, our thoughts, and to work with us to try to find solutions. Okay, thank you. Board, are we satisfied?
Yes, take care of my agenda.
Okay, good. Thank you. Great job, Ken. Thank you, sir. Okay, Board, we are now down to regular agenda items, and we are in curriculum instruction. Board, what's your flavor?
Mr. Chairman, as usual, I make a motion to accept A through E as presented.
Thank you, Board. We do have a motion by Mr. Long with a second by Mr. Wheeler on the approval under curriculum instruction, letters A through E. Is there any discussion, Board? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion does carry 5-0. Human Resources.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to accept F through H as presented.
Thank you, Board. Under Human Resource, we have a motion by Mr. Long with a second by Mr. Wheeler on the approval of letters F through H. Board, is there any discussion on these items? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by stating aye.
Aye.
And I will vote no on those. So the motion carries 4-1. Business and Finance.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to accept I through N as presented.
Thank you, Board. Again, under Business and Finance, we have a motion by Mr. Long with a second by Mr. Wheeler on the approval of letters I through N. Board, is there any discussion on these items? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion does carry 5-0. Facilities,
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to accept O and Q as presented.
and that excludes letter P?
Yes.
Okay.
Discussion.
So, Board, we do have a motion by Mr. Long with a second by Mr. Wheeler under Facilities for letters O and Q only. Discussion, Mr. Wheeler.
Clyde, the question is about the Harmony High School Classroom Building Addition.
Yes, sir.
Is that building addition scheduled to open next August?
It is. Yes, sir.
Thank you, that's all I need to know.
Thank you. Board, any discussions on letters O or Q? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion does carry 5-0. Board, under Facilities, we still have letter P that has not been approved.
Motion approved, P is submitted.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Soto.
Discussion.
Thank you. Board, we do have a motion by Mr. Wheeler with a second by Mr. Soto on the approval of letter P under Facilities. Discussion, Mr. Long.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did have an opportunity to meet with our facilities director, Mr. Wells, and his staff. And I know that before I came on this board, there was several projects that was always coming in with change orders for several reasons. And I have heartache when we have change orders, and as I'm sure Mr. Wells does. He forgot to bring me a Snickers this evening, so we'll discuss
Sorry.
that. But, Board, I'd like to direct you to page 330 as we go through this. And instead of me discussing all this, I would like to turn the floor over to our facilities director so he can go through the discussion in a timely fashion.
Thank you, Mr. Long. Tonight we do bring a change order for the Parton Settlement entrance renovation project, the entryway. There were some unforeseen conditions within this. There's 7 items that were identified that needed to go through the change order process. We lump those together and bring them to you tonight. The largest item, if you look at number 6, is the site redesign, and I'll spend the most time on that one because of the cost of it. But if you're familiar at all with the school or not, there was at the onset of the project, it was determined by our staff that we could use as-built for the drawings from the original design on the school in lieu of pulling a survey, and that came back to bite us. We needed to go out for a survey. We had to work with Osceola Engineering, who I do want to note did a redesign on that front entranceway for the civil at no additional charge to the district. They have always been great to work with. Schenkel Schultz is the architect on this job. We have a long and successful history with them. The items that were on the front entranceway, a lot of it had to do with the ADA accessibility for handicapped spots and to enter into the school to the new entranceway. Like I said, the design costs were not charged to us, the redesign. So we're paying for on that PR that's the actual cost of the work. Had it been found up front through the survey or whatever, we would have still incurred this cost. I think that's important to note. On the other items, we've worked with our project team. I met with Mr. Davis and we sat down with Mr. Long and went through these items one by one. What we will do is just typical of closeout of all projects. We will sit down with the architect, go over errors and omissions that are identified, and that would be through these, each one of these. Now, we did not certainly have enough time to do that prior to coming forward tonight, but at the end of the project, when we reconcile, that's always standard procedure to go through errors and omissions. Some of it may have cost additional cost to the district by possibly extra work. But until we sit down and Mr. Davis has a chance to go through that with the architect, we don't know how much will be errors or omissions at this time. The last thing I will say on this change order, this additional cost is still less than the second lowest bidder. So it's still, it's cost we would have incurred originally. So it's just, I just think it needs to be noted, this is not an additional, still less than the second lowest would have been.
Thank you, sir. Mr.
Thank
Long?
you.
Well, I just, since they were all lumped together and having looked over the documents and having talked with darn near the whole department over there and going through some of these changes is our fault because of conflicting contract language. Some of these are owner requests. Some were forced by health and safety.
Right.
Some of these were Schenkel Schultz, the contractor's fault, if you want to use that word, and I have suggested, well, then they should, since the district and not the taxpayers are at fault here, then Schenkel Schultz should be paying this. Now, Mr. Wells has already said that this, when we do closeout, that this will be going through our release of retainage. We're going to do our closeout, everything else like this. Clyde, if you could just cover that one more time so all of us understand, because we hate to have
At closeout of the project, when we reconcile, we will sit down with the architect, we sit down with the contractors, go through errors and omissions. We keep a log on that as the projects go through, anytime these PRs come through. It's all calculated through our accountants over there, and the project team will sit down, and Mr. Davis has already spoken to the architect about this. So we're very close to bringing you the final on this. We just got, substantial a couple of weeks ago to get it ready for school opening. But once it goes through that process for accounting purposes and everything, we'll work with the architect on that at that time.
About how much is the retainage right now?
Sir?
About how much is the retainage right now?
On the project, with it being a straight bid, there is a 10% contingency, I believe, that was built into this project. So that's what would be held back on it right now.
Okay, so, and we're over 10% on this change order.
Correct, but you would have paid, the errors and omissions would not eliminate the $46,000 or $47,000
Right.
total. It's whatever added work would have been occurred by the omission of that design or the error of that design. We would have still had to put in the ADA accessible walkways with the correct survey up front, and that's where the largest cost to this. Another one had to do with moving a sink, and some of it was owner directed. So, I mean, to say that the total of the change order is greater than 10% of the project, that's not exactly, I mean, we would have incurred the majority of this cost anyway.
Okay.
And that's what will be reconciled at the end of the project.
Thank you. I yield the floor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wells. Board, any other comments or questions? Okay, again, for clarity, this is approval of facilities, item P, with the motion by Mr. Wheeler and a second by Mr. Soto. Seeing no other discussion, all those in favor, please indicate by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion does carry 5-0. Superintendent, there are no recommendations, I believe?
No, sir.
And I know that there is something under attorney's report. Mr. Brown?
Thank you, Mr. Weishire. I'd like to request an executive session under subsection 8 of statute 286.011 to be scheduled at the next school board meeting. It's in connection with the Pamela Tapley lawsuit, and I would anticipate we would need about an hour for that executive session. My staff will work with the superintendent's staff to make sure the legally compliant notice is published, and as usual, I believe it's your pleasure to have the executive session scheduled at the end of the agenda. And if that's consistent with what you like, we can do it that way.
Correct. And Board, just again so that you're aware, the September 2nd meeting has been canceled, so we will not be meeting then. So enjoy your Labor Day. But we will be meeting on the 16th, and so we'd be looking at doing the executive session at the end of our school board meeting on the 16th. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Superintendent's update?
Just a reminder that we're looking at September 8th, Monday at 8 a.m. for a very short board meeting. And that's all I have, sir.
Thank you. And then, Board, the only comment or reminder I would offer as well is that the September 16th, we are moving the facilities workshop with the impact fee study there as well. So just be aware of that. It's scheduled right now, I believe, for 4. Yeah. Yep. Under new business, old business. Oh, no, new business. Mr. Wheeler, you had college readiness.
Yeah, I'm excited that Mrs. Luciano has made this one of her priorities for this year, but with that said, yes, and we're gonna get a presentation in October, I appreciate that. But Dr. Akes, the question is for you, really more than anybody else. I mean, I talk with these high school seniors, talked with some yesterday at Osceola High School, I talked with some at Celebration High School, and they'll tell me that they just can't get into guidance counselors. Guidance counselors they just have too many things going. So the question I've got is, what are we doing to help those seniors, I mean, they need help right now with college applications, with essays, I mean, everything that they need to do. What are we doing right now to help where can those seniors go? Where can they turn to?
Yes, sir. Ms. Luciano had called me about 4:30 to make sure that I was prepared to answer your question. I've been working with staff.
Thank you.
Kind of getting ready for the October meeting. And so I wanted to present y'all the current strategies we have.
Thank you, sir.
And I'll be more prepared in October to give you a little bit more polished presentation when that comes around. So in talking to Ms. Sarah Schumacher, the coordinator of guidance services, Gladys Justino, who's over the top 10% of the STARS program. What I've done for you is kind of list for you the strategies that we've put together that we're looking at currently right now, Mr. Wheeler. The first one is, some years back, we actually were sending letters to parents, senior parents, and we're going to reenact that. Mr. Wheeler, one of the things that I've been a little bit concerned about is seniors will sometimes filter information that you may be getting, but also what parents are getting. So we're going to mail these directly home. And this letter to the parents will really be about 2 or 3 different things. One will have the actually Got College website on it. And the other thing that we're actually been utilizing for as an avenue to get information to seniors and parents is the Text or Remind 101 service. This is really specific. We can send specific information about SAT dates that are upcoming. So we've got that going on. So the first page that I have here is the strategies that we're working on currently to try to beef up with our staff. Then the next several pages you have there are specific interactions that are taking place either at the district or at each one of these school sites. So you actually have a calendar of all the different events for each high school. And as you go toward there, you'll also see an overall list for Got College. So let me just kind of go through here the different strategies that we do have that we're working on right now. Again, the Remind 101 is a great service, but one of the downfalls that we've seen is that kids or parents have to opt in. In other words, a parent or a student could text in that they want to be into the Got College loop or into the STARS program, and once they opt in, we send specific dates and information back. I just met with a gentleman last week, is actually from United Way, and what his strategy is about is it's called Text to College. It's the same type service, but when a student or a parent opts in for a specific college or university within Florida, then it sends specific information about, hey, don't forget Florida is their open enrollment or their application date is going. It's such a great service, but it's specifically to Florida. So what I asked Gladys is, why can't we do that same thing for some of the bigger dates that are coming up throughout the United States? And so we're working on trying to beef that up. And so that would actually be in the Text to College. The other thing we're going to do, so we've talked about the letter, we've talked about texting, we've talked about the website. We're going to do an IRIS call out to our junior and senior parents and try to get them to opt into this actual texting or getting on the website. So that's the strategy number 5 there. Of course, everybody's familiar with Got College and all the different things they're doing. And so we start meeting with them with the college readiness meeting tomorrow. And that group that meets tomorrow is actually more than just Got College, because it's really the nucleus for Osceola for the different initiatives we have with trying to get kids into post-secondary. And in that meeting, one of the things that I wanted to make sure that I highlighted for you was with Got College, when we're looking at that, we're also talking about the strategies for the medical pipeline. And in the medical pipeline, in the Got College, also K-12, we talk about purposeful interactions with not just juniors and seniors, but K-12. When Ms. Luciana talks about from kindergarten to college, there's specific interactions built into the Got College or medical pipeline where we want to get every 5th grader on the campus of Valencia College to actually be on there where they can say, this is what it looks like, and oh my God, I've got kids there that look like me that can actually go to school here. The medical pipeline is doing the same thing. They're getting specific interactions from elementary all the way to high school with this, so we're really excited about that. But again, that meeting is tomorrow. Y'all know about the impact with the transition coaches. That takes those kids that are struggling to get through to that application process, making sure that they make it over the hump. We've had some really, really good, strong data on their interactions, so we're excited about that. And they'll start back up now with the seniors.
Repeat that, please.
Yes, sir.
About the application, but can you repeat what you just said about the application?
When we talk about the transition coaches, we're not talking about the kids that have everything done. We're talking about kids that struggle to get the application and actually get them over the hump. Because as y'all know, if you try to get through the application process alone sometimes, it's very, very daunting task. So that's what the transition coaches are there for. Okay. It's to help those students successfully transition from high school into post-secondary.
Okay, I've got a question about that. we had a back-to-school hotline set up.
Yes, sir.
And so, and I'm not suggesting we have a.
But we did that. During the actual spring, we did that, and we did it in Spanish and in English, to where that what we wanted to find out was, do parents struggle with what to do to get kids in school? So it was through the foundation. They actually manned it to where what our goal was to actually get the parents to call in, find out what the issue is, and then hand them off to the transition coaches.
But, okay, in the spring though, that's fine, but these kids who want to go to college next year, who are seniors now,
yes, sir,
they need the transition coaches between now and, say, October 15th.
Absolutely they do. And so we want to continue that effort, and in the meeting tomorrow, we would be talking about strategies such as that. What are the things that were successful, and what things do we need to try to beef up? So when we're looking at that tomorrow, those will be some of the things that we talk about. As you know, the Reach for the Stars program has expanded from 3 high schools all the way to every comprehensive high schools that we have, so the footprint is very large for that. But one of my concerns is, as we've grown it out, is how many purposeful touches do we have with those kids in some of the key areas for making sure that we ask them to really dream big. Have you thought about applying to a top 20 college, not in Florida, but in the United States? So the meeting that I have set up tomorrow with Bob, or on Friday, is about that. Because really the application process is a lot more daunting, and you've got to start preparing for it late in your junior, during the summer year. You've got to have a well-oiled resume ready to go when you go into this school year.
Okay, I want to back you up about transition coaches. I want to talk about that. So right now, if there's high school seniors at Gateway High School, Harmony High School, at Poinciana High School, and they're struggling, where is there a number they should call, an email they should send? I mean, where can they be directed for those transition coaches right now?
Right. Well, if you look down here about the third one from the bottom, each senior will meet with his or her counselor on a one-on-one meeting in the month of September.
Okay.
That will take place. And from there, we would actually start to identify those students. But again, we've got to have the website ready to go and have the information ready to go for those kids to where that they know how to get hooked up with that. But Jay, as you know, the problem isn't the fact that the transition coach isn't there ready, is that we've got to get that kid to actually reach out, and we got to connect that kid and that transition coach together, because quite often these kids will not make the first step. We got to make it to them.
And the reason I'm bringing this up is I've been tutoring Avid now for 4 years, and a kid who was a junior last year is a senior this year, and they called me in a panic on Saturday. Haven't heard from the kid all summer long. Calls me in a panic, Mr. Wheeler, can you help me? I'm having a tough time logging onto the FSU website because it's not taking my ID, blah, and I'm like, I don't know what to tell the kid. You know what I mean? I didn't even know where to send. I said, well, you need to talk to your guidance counselor. I tried, but the guidance counselor is always busy.
Well, right now they're slammed without a doubt. And that's the only reason I can't have those senior meetings within the next 2 weeks. But anytime you have that, please send that to me, because I can get them to the transition coach. But I've got to get their presence and Gladys's presence back on the campus more, to where that we realize that there's specific strategies we got to actually put into place for the Avid student, which is different than the kid that's going to try to go to the Harvard or the Georgia Tech. We got to differentiate that strategy.
This was FSU, in fairness.
Yeah. But I'm just saying those are different strategies and different times of year when those applications have to be done by. So I'm hearing exactly what you're saying. But anytime you have that situation, do not hesitate.
I won't.
I know you won't. So those are the things we're doing right now. I would like to have the opportunity to come back in October and have the staff actually do a better presentation for you. Is there any questions from the other board members or in general?
I'd just like to see if Mr. Soto would like to say, or we actually have Leah Carius in the audience, the Scott College that's been going on. If you have some comments on that.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you to Mr. Wheeler for bringing up this topic, and I'd like to thank you and your staff, Dr. Akes, for the handout that you provided us. It truly is wonderful to see this, the schedule, the activities that are planned. I think that every board member who has this packet in their hands has the blueprint and an invitation to get involved with this effort. And I think it's wonderful. Thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
I have a few questions on your last page, which is your bar graph.
Yes, sir.
It's a very good. I tell you, just looking at it with Tim here, it's illustrative of what's going on. Question number one. I enjoyed this, so I'm going to want more of it. Is it possible to get one as of December 31st, 2014, like for January?
Yes, sir. I'm glad that you brought up the data part of it. Our goal for high school is that for every senior that exits high school, they have a career plan in place and they exit high school and execute that plan. So we want 100% across the board, and we'll actually start generating that. Gladys will actually start generating that within the first quarter, so we can start giving you monthly updates on that. And what we want to do for the strategy is actually post that at each high school, their individual thermometer. So you can imagine how competitive the high school principals are. They already know that this is coming and we're going to be looking at it. There's two parts here that I want to point out to you. One is that when we're looking at Liberty, we know we got to work there, and we've already put in some strategies in place to move that number there, that we can move that number without a doubt. When we look down at Zenith, I'm going to tell you, Miss Alexander and Miss Frances O'Connor, they said leave the data just like it is, because we know that's our starting spot for this year. And they've already got a career counselor in place. They got some really good transition folks that are working with those kids. So really the two lowest points there on that graph, we're moving those, and you don't have to worry about that one. Thank you for bringing it up.
Well, you know what? I was going to make that observation. Obviously, when you look at it, you see the dip and Liberty. Well, before I get to that, I understand also that each of these bars represent the percent of students who confirm post-secondary plans, and they're all grouped together. I probably would like, if I guess whatever board member requested, would like a breakdown between those categories as well.
Yes, sir. One of the things that Kelvin is referring to a little bit is that what do we consider a post-secondary plan? Well, whenever we have a confirmed acceptance into a college or university, kids that have committed and actually signed with the armed services, there's specific criteria that we consider you've executed and have in place a career plan. So I'll be glad to do that. And when we come in for the October meeting, we'll show you those different categories by school. And it's really exciting to see that start to grow. One of the things that we have talked about, and I know you've probably seen this, when you walk into the high schools, the cafeteria or the libraries, we want those signed letters and the kids' pictures up on there where other kids can see it. I think that's very motivational for your freshman and your sophomore to see kids' pictures where they've been accepted into your Florida States, where they've actually signed these letters of intent to go in the armed services. That shows commitment, and it isn't that the kid's name's there, it's that they see that kid looks just like me and look what he or she's doing. It's very moving and motivational to the kids.
Absolutely. And I just make a comment on that. Today, nowadays, to get into the military, it's as competitive as getting into some of the...
Those ASVAB scores, they don't play around with them.
It's very, very difficult.
Yeah.
Well, we all know about, one of the things that Gateway High School has done, and the principal there, Larry Meadows, has been to recognize students on their graduation with a pin, maybe do a highlight. Hopefully what we're looking at in that school is partnering up with the local business parts of the school to see if they can do something, the summer before, or something to, if they get the funding to celebrate with the kids, with the students that are able to, that are taking this initiative to continue with their education. I spoke with Mr. Studley about that, and he seemed to be interested in having something similar. Have you had any feedback or any, at least about with the idea of doing this college readiness recognition with the students in graduation from other principals?
I haven't with other principals, and Mr. Soto, the reason why is because those graduation events are very, isolated to one high school. Mm-hmm. But I do think that Ms. Luciano would probably want to talk to the high school principals just in general about how positive that is to be able to recognize those kids for really the post-secondary plans they've actually put into place across the board. So I think it's something that we could work on across the district.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Just a quick question, since we're talking about graduation, it ties in. I got a call from a parent. Have we identified our graduation dates for next year? I know it seems a little ahead of the curve, but
That's a great question.
We actually have a
trying to
meeting
plan family vacation.
on which date, Tony?
The 26th.
The 26th, where we're actually starting the process, so we've got it started, because you know it takes a while to get the contract in place. And after the 26th, probably by the next board meeting, I could actually get you the dates and times for all the high school graduations. But it does take a while, but no, it's not too early. We've already set that in motion.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Board, any other comment or question on this? Thank you, Dr.
I'd like
Riggs.
to make one comment, and that is that Michael said that I called at 4:30, and Tim, you happened to be at the office with me, and you had just called me.
I know.
But look at what was presented right now, so you know that that was not put together in an hour. We have been working on this diligently, and I appreciate, Jay, you calling, and you knew that we were going to have the meeting in October, but just wanted everyone to know that we are focused, and that's why he was able to
You
bring
know,
this
and
to
I'll
this
share,
meeting.
and I appreciate that, Mel, but one thing I've noticed, Mrs. Luciano, sorry, one thing I've noticed since I've been here, Michael Akes is a guy who eats his Wheaties, and I appreciate that, so I appreciate it.
I just say
Well-
that, you know what, maybe we should make that the standard, do it in less than an hour. So if I could get if we could get it, the information like this, then.
No, that's only because he's been working on it for a
Okay.
while.
Oh, come on, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Board, the other item that I had under new business was our contract summary sheets and agenda items in our packets. It's nothing of great importance, but I just want to bring it up. And I'll use the example, if you want to look at one, if you still have your computers open, page 237. Basically, as we vote on things and we look at the dollar amount associated with a particular contract, I know it would be beneficial for me, and I suspect for you as well, to not only see what the current cost of the contract is, but also what the prior cost of that same contract was in a previous cycle. So I'm just asking that we have that added to our information so that as we go into these votes, we have really clear and easy access to comparative data so that we can make more informed decisions. Superintendent, I know I mentioned that to you, but you're good?
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. That was it for me. Any other new business? I don't believe so. I just have a couple of comments I want to make, and if not, then we'll get ready. Melba, did you have anything additional?
No, sir.
Okay. Additional comments. Dr. Akes, I just want to express again personal thanks to you. Everything that's been going on with the transition at OHS, you have been extremely responsive to me, I suspect to everybody up here, but also more importantly to the parents. And I want you to know that I appreciate that. There's been a number of emails that I forwarded along to you that I needed your technical expertise or insight on, and you've always been right on it. You've offered to respond, you've offered to reach out, and you've offered to be an asset to our parents and our students, and I want you to know I personally appreciate the attention that you've provided to me in that. So,
You're very welcome.
thank you. The other is, Melba, just as a quick thought, and this just popped to my head as we were going through the meeting, school district website, I know we've talked a little bit about that in the past. I know there's some efforts going on there, but might be something we want to bring to the board at some point just to get an update. That's a really important mechanism, and it kind of goes to even some of what we were just talking about before the board meeting about how we communicate our message to the community and provide good quality information to them. So nothing for tonight, but just as a comment that it reminded me that I want to make sure that that continues to go on.
We'll definitely have Dana bring something together.
Good. Board, if there's nothing else at this time?
Mr. Chairman,
Sir.
just one comment. If you haven't noticed, Mr. Muniz is missing here
Yes.
this evening, and I would like our superintendent to inform everyone why he's not here.
I don't remember.
Mr. Muniz
Oh, the hotline
was.
at the
He's on vacation.
No, he's sitting out and sitting by telephones.
Right, he emailed me.
Right now?
Yes, he volunteered to go and help with the hotline over in transportation, so he's making sure that all of our children made it home safely today.
And I'm gonna tell you that the hotline yesterday, I'll be honest with you, I always am, but I knocked on Dana's door and I said, Dana, at this point, you're usually knocking on my door going, we're going crazy over here with a number of phone calls. And she didn't knock on my door, so I went and I knocked on hers and said, Dana, is everything okay? And she said, Melba, this is the best opening we've ever had. And I know it has a lot to do with the planning and also with the hotline that Dana put together and that Mark Muniz and his team put together at Transportation.
I only got 3 kindergarten.
Thank you.
Can you believe
I only
that?
got 3 kindergarten parent phone calls
It
this
was
year.
amazing.
I usually get like
So publicly, I'm saying, Mr. Muniz, thank you for the efforts that he did.
Okay.
And I would agree. He has taken total ownership of this and has really expressed a strong commitment to making sure that everything goes as smooth as possible. And again, has been very responsive through all this. So thank you, Mr. Long, for bringing that up. Board will stand adjourned at this time. Thank you.
Dr. Akes. Yes. We need to get with you.